is to make this process as simple as possible. My intention is to make videos that are useful for everyone. So even though you are a beginner, you should be able to follow these videos and deploy a checkpoint management server on Microsoft Hyper-V. So let's get started. First of all, I'm connected to my laptop and I have a Windows RDP session to my desktop server. So this is my Windows desktop that I'm connected to. This is the platform is it could be you need Windows 10, Windows 11, does not matter. I'm using Windows 10 Professional, which is required because uh, on top of this Windows operating system, I would be running Microsoft Hyper-V. You're using Windows 10 Professional or Windows 11, Microsoft Hyper-V service is inbuilt, so you should be able to leverage that service and use it. So in order to create virtual machines, VMs, you need a hypervisor, and Microsoft Hyper-V is hypervisor, and that software is free with Windows 10 and 11. If you are not sure how to install that, we just need to enable that service. So you can go to Start Run, and you can go to uh, appwizard.cpl, which is nothing but your installation of Windows programs, and then you have this Windows features turn on or off, and here you have Microsoft Hyper-V. So in my system, in my desktop computer, Hyper-V is already enabled. If it is not enabled in your environment, this check box will not be ticked. So you need to select this, and all subcomponents will be selected by default automatically. So if Hyper-V service is not enabled in your environment, select this checkbox, and then you will need to restart your computer. And upon restart, you should be able to start Hyper-V. So that's a little bit about the background. So the platform here is Windows 10 Professional. I have Microsoft Hyper-V installed. Once you have Microsoft Hyper-V, it should now you should find a shortcut like this, or you can search for Hyper-V and you should be able to find something like this. So this is that console for Microsoft Hyper-V. You can create different VMs. As you can see, I have a lot of VMs over here. The first thing you need to do is create a virtual switch. So let me just now do a quick diagram and explain what exactly we want to do. So I have, yes, I have this software. Can use this and leverage. Okay. So for example, if we will have, this is your checkpoint management server. This is called, I will call it MGR. This is checkpoint management server. And this is on my lab, on my desktop computer. So this component is inside my desktop computer. So say this is my Windows desktop computer. Okay. And as you see in the lower right corner, I'm connected using the wired connection. So wired LAN is connected. So let me just show you. So the shortcut is ncpa.cpl. I have a lot of NICs, and the NIC that I would be using is this one, external NIC. And I can show you my IP address is 192.168.1.250 slash 24-bit mask, and 1.1 is my default gateway. So this is a wired connection. It is connected to an internal modem, and that's how I get the internet access. So using this network interface card named external, I'm getting internet access. So on this manager, what I can do, I can create one network interface card. So that should be one NIC, and this should be bridged. So this Windows computer, this also has a NIC, and this NIC is connected to a modem. This is my internet modem, and from internet modem, I have access to the internet. So this is the physical NIC. This is the physical NIC. On the same Windows server, I have Hyper-V, and on the Hyper-V, I'm going to create a virtual machine called Checkpoint Manager management server. So I will create a virtual switch on Hyper-V. So on Hyper-V, one virtual switch I will call external, and I will bridge that virtual switch with this particular NIC, so that any device, for example, if manager is part of this virtual switch, then it will have internet access. If I have one more VM, for example, I create one more VM called Ubuntu Linux, and I make this VM connect, I connect this VM to the same virtual switch, external switch, then it will also have internet access. So basically, the first step is creating a virtual switch in Hyper-V, and then you can create as many VMs as you can, and you can create your network interface cards on the VMs, and you can make them part of that virtual switch. That's the whole idea. So once I demonstrate that in the lab, it would make more sense. So let's go to Hyper-V. So this is the first interface that you see. You need to go to Virtual Switch Manager on your right, somewhere in the top right corner. So Virtual Switch Manager. I already have 3 switches created. I will show you the configuration. I can also show how to create a new switch. So these are, I have a lot of switches. You can create, several virtual switches. You just need one or two, but you can create as many as possible. So here, external virtual switch is selected. I can double click, or not double click, but I can go to this section on the left, and I can expand. I can select that, and it will show the configuration. Here is the name. You can put some notes, and this is a very important portion. You can map this virtual switch. You can bridge this virtual switch to one of the network interfaces that you have. If you're using Wi-Fi, you can bridge this external virtual switch to your Wi-Fi adapter. If you have wired Ethernet connection, like in this case, you can bridge it using that. So the physical connector that I have, the physical LAN I have is called, it's an Intel Ethernet connection. So if you use the drop down, you should be able to see all the connections, all the virtual networks available that you can bridge this particular virtual switch with. Now, I want this virtual switch to have internet access. That's why. And my internet access is available via this Ethernet LAN connection. So this particular network interface card is connected to my modem, and that's how I get internet access. So I will bridge this particular virtual switch with my uh, Ethernet LAN. That's what I have done. That's all you need to do. You don't have to select anything else. Internal and private, these are different virtual switches if you want to create an internal network. In my case, I want to connect to the internet, hence I have used this. You can create a new virtual switch also. You can say create new virtual switch. I can say I can call it external too. And again, I can keep the same way. I can bridge that with my Ethernet LAN, the physical LAN, and I can click on OK. And that will also, create that external switch. But here it is throwing an error because I'm using an external this switch, but just to show you the process that's how it works. So when you do that, so I'm connected using the same connection. And when you do that, let me just get rid of this, remove it. Okay. So when you do it, no, because you are connected using the same connection, the connection will bounce. So if you're connected to the internet, it will bounce. That's why I'm not demonstrating that, and I'm not creating that. Otherwise, it will create disruptions in this video. But that's a simple process. You will have disruption for a couple of seconds, and then the connection will come up. But that is one part that you need to be aware about. Okay, so we are not considering any other virtual switches. We are going to use an external virtual switch, which is bridged with our Ethernet LAN. Okay, so basic things are done, and we are ready to create a VM. How to create a VM? This is Microsoft Hyper-V Manager. This is the interface where you can create virtual machines. So this is the name of my computer. You can right click there, you can select new and virtual machine. Now here, this is a wizard which will walk you through different steps. So let's click on next. You can give it a name. So I can call it uh, ASMS. This is the name I'm just giving to my checkpoint management server. And the version that I'm going to deploy is R81.20. That's the version I want. You can store in a specific location this particular image, but the default is just fine. So click on next. There are different types of generations, generation 1, generation 2. So for some VM platforms, you may need to select generation 2, but in this the default is fine. So I'll keep selecting generation 1. This portion is very important. What is the minimum amount of RAM? So in previous versions, 1 gig, 2 gig, or maybe 3, 4 gig, that was okay. But R80 onwards, now you need at least 6 GB of RAM for this to work. Otherwise, you'll have all kinds of weird issues. So 6144 by 6144, it's a simple calculation. 1024, so 1024 MB equals 1 GB. So into 6, that comes 6144. So this is exactly 6 GB. So I'm allotting 6 GB of RAM to this virtual machine. Click on next. This is the place where you select that you want to connect this virtual machine to which virtual switch. Remember, we went to this virtual switch manager and we created a virtual switch called external. So that's what we are going to do. So in the drop down, it will show all the virtual switches that you have. We'll select external, click on next. And here now it is going to create a virtual disk because uh, this is a virtual machine VM, so it will create a virtual disk. You can increase or decrease the size. Right now, I have sufficient amount of hard drive space available, so I'm just keeping the default. If you are running low on disk space, at least keep around 40 gigs. That should be a good amount, but I'm good with the default value. That's fine. And then click on next. So that's fine. And now here, you need to give the path of the ISO image. Now, this is the image that you can download from Checkpoint. It is freely available, so you can just, you can Google for download, search, download Checkpoint R81.20 ISO. And you should be able to go here. It might require you to log in, just create a free account. Yeah, it is available without even account. So you can click on download and that will install this R81.20. So that's as simple as, going to any web browser and downloading the image. This is going to be an ISO file, something like this. I already have an ISO file with me, so I'm going to use that. I don't remember the path, but let's see. Yeah, this is R82. I don't want R82 here. R81, R81.20. Yeah, I have this R81.20. I'll select that. So you have selected the ISO image. Click on next, and here click on finish. Okay, so your virtual machine is created. Your virtual machine is here, R80ASMS R81.20. Now at this point, there is one very important step that you need to keep in mind. Uh, I'll show you. So right click on your VM image and go to settings. Now these are all the hardware settings applied to this VM. So memory is fine. Processor, this is very important. So uh, minimum of processor requirements is 2. You cannot have. If you just keep one processor, it will not work. Again, the VM might boot up, but you will have all kinds of problems. And some network interface card might not work. So keep at least 2 virtual CPUs. That's very important. Increase that to that. And in future, if you want more network interfaces to be added, you can always click on add hardware, select network adapter, and then click on add. And then you'll have more network interfaces. But for this demo, just one network interface is enough. And with one network interface, even one vCPU might work. But usually, I just keep at least 2 because anyways, I will be adding more interfaces later. So a minimum of 2 vCPU is recommended. Otherwise, I have faced a lot of challenges in the past, so I recommend using at least 2 vCPUs. If you're running short on vCPUs, you cannot do that. Try it with one and just give it a try. It might work, but no, I don't think, it is that much of a challenge. So I'm keeping 2 vCPUs and saving that. So now this VM is ready to load. So let's start the VM. So VM is running and let's connect to it. So you can right click and click on connect, or you can double click on this and it will show the console. Now here, this is again an important question. The question is, what do you want to do? You want to install. The first option is install. And second option is once you have installed, you can select the second option. But since there is no operating system, we cannot boot because there is nothing on the boot disk. It is blank. So if you select the second option and load, it will fail and it will just go into a loop. You'll just get stuck up on a blank screen. So because we have not installed it yet, let's install Gaia. Gaia is the name of the operating system on which Checkpoint systems run. That is the base operating system. It is called Gaia. We are loading it right now. Yeah, this is the first screen. So let's say, yeah, I want to proceed with installation. US keyboard is fine. Space 20%. So this is, these are the partitions. If you want to keep logs, you want to utilize logs, you might increase this percentage to a little bit more. For example, I prefer to do a 25% on system root and 25% on log partition. So you can also do that. You can also keep the default as 20%. So that's fine. You can hit tab a couple of times to go to different options. I hit tab and until OK is selected. I'm pressing OK. And this is again a very important question that you need to keep in mind. For Checkpoint virtual machines, there is no default username and password. Why? Because there is none. You set it yourself. When you deploy a VM, you set the password. If it is a Checkpoint appliance, then the default credentials are admin. That is for the hardware appliances. But for VMs, you set it yourself. So I'm setting a very simple password. Make sure you remember, hit enter to go to the next step. And this is for the maintenance. So in case you lose your password, you need to do password recovery. There is also a maintenance credentials that you can use. So this is something you can use, and this will be used to recover your forgotten password. Uh, I usually in a lab environment give a very simple password, so I use the same password for both. I know I will always remember this password. It is a very simple one. So because this is lab, I'm using this, the same password. Uh, in production environment, you'll have a very different password, super secure, and keep it at a safe place. Hit tab until OK selected and hit enter. And this is the place we have only one virtual NIC for this VM, and that is bridged with our wired LAN connection. And here is the place where you will assign it an IP address. Now, the IP address space that I have is 192.168.1.0/24. That is the address space that I have. And 1.1 is my default gateway. That is the IP address of my modem. So I need to give some IP address which is freely available. So the last octet will change. So I'll use 1 dot something like 213 just to be sure, because I know I'm using other IP addresses. So let's keep it that way. Okay, so I'll say this is 213 and the default gateway is going to be 1.1. Okay, so this is the IP address scheme. Make sure you use the IP addresses according to your network environment. All right, so we are ready to rock and roll. Click on OK, and it is installing the operating system. Right now, Gaia is being installed. It will take, a few minutes. I don't remember exactly how long it takes, but usually, it should be less than 10 minutes. So let me do a quick pause on this. There is no pause option available in this. No worries. I thought there was a pause option, but yeah, there is no pause option. No worries, I'll keep it live. So I'm using Microsoft Teams to record this. Okay, while it is loading, let me also talk about the Checkpoint 3-tier architecture. So Checkpoint has a 3-tier architecture. What we are doing, we are installing the Checkpoint Management Server. Okay, MGR. This is your Checkpoint Management Server. And in order to access this, you need a Windows computer and you need an application called Smart Console. Smart Console. That's the name of the application. So you need a Windows computer. You need to install Smart Console application on your Windows machine and then use that application to connect to the Checkpoint Management Server. And then you will configure everything. So you will create objects, you'll create policies, on this checkpoint management server. And then the third component is your checkpoint gateway. This is called checkpoint gateway. Gateway is nothing but in checkpoint calls it a gateway, but it is a firewall. So you create policies here and then you push the policies to checkpoint gateway. So your user is sitting here. Your user is pointed to checkpoint gateway, and then checkpoint gateway will apply the policies, filter it, and then send the traffic outside on the internet. That's how it is. So that is called the three-tier architecture. Just a minute, this is done. So let's hit enter to reboot. So let it reboot. And now this time, this is the same question. Remember, now we have already installed the Gaia operating system. We do not need to change the setting. Now we can use the second option, do not install, just boot from the local drive, because now the operating system is there on the local drive. So now I will, instead of using the first option, use the second option to load it. Okay, yeah, so checkpoint three-tier architecture. So there are three pieces: Smart Console application on a Windows host to connect to Checkpoint Management Server. Checkpoint Management Server is the second component where everything is stored. Your database is stored there. Your objects are stored there. Your policies are stored there. It is also your certification authority server. So everything is stored on the management server. That is the heart of your checkpoint infrastructure. And then you create a policy package, and then you push that policy package to a checkpoint gateway, which is your firewall. And then the firewall will implement the policies. That is the whole process. So three tiers. That's why it's called three-tier architecture. Okay, so Gaia operating system is installed. Let's do some quick commands. So admin and the password which you set during the deployment wizard. Okay, during the deployment process, you set password yourself. There is no default password, so make sure you remember your password. So this is my password. This is how it looks like. If I want to check what is the interface configured on this, I can say show configuration interface, and it should be able to show me that I have 1.213/24. That is the IP address configured here. A very quick command, if you don't know anything, then you can say show configuration, and it is full. No, it is just show configuration, and it will show the entire configuration, whatever is there on the Gaia operating system. Everything is there. And this will also show you that there is a static default route. It is pointing to 1.1, which is your default gateway. So since this is fine, I should also be able to reach to internet. So I can say ping 8888 internet resource, and yes, I have internet connectivity from this VM. Okay, so my checkpoint Gaia operating system R81.20 is installed, but it is not ready yet. So the next step is, this is a base operating system. Now you need to tell to run the checkpoint management software. So we know the IP address, it is 192.168.1.213. So 213, this is the IP address of my checkpoint management server. This is the typical warning where it is throwing a self-signed certificate and your web browser does not trust it. So that's normal. I know this is not a problem. This is not a security issue. It is just the default behavior, and this is a trusted site. So I accept the warning and I continue. And here you need to use a first time configuration wizard. So this is the first time you're accessing your Gaia operating system using a web browser. Again, these are the credentials you set yourself when you deployed the management server. So you use the same credentials. I don't want to save them. Yeah, and it will start the first time configuration wizard. In this wizard, no, so this is the same image, same ISO image you can use. You can deploy checkpoint management server, or you can deploy a checkpoint gateway, or both, up to you. So this wizard will ensure whether what you are doing will be a management server or gateway or both. We will see. So let's start the wizard. They say, what do you want to do? Yes, I want to continue with the wizard and configuration, not the other options. And once again, it confirms that these are the IP addresses. You sure you want to use? Yes, I don't want to change. You may change if you want, but I'm good. And this is the right time to give it a meaningful name. So I'll call it ASMS. Uh, ASMS is fine. Lab, maybe, if you have a domain name, you can apply. Otherwise, you can keep it blank. Not necessary. That's optional. DNS is important. At least one DNS you need to keep. I like to give all three. So primary, secondary, and tertiary, all three are given. Just one is enough, but just in case. Okay, this is again very important. In a production environment, you would want to use NTP. This is a lab environment, and this matches my system time, so I'm good. Here is $1 million question. What exactly you want this virtual machine to be? Do you want to treat it as a firewall? You want to treat it as a management server, or you want to treat it as both? You can configure both functionalities on the same virtual machine, which is called standalone deployment. You could do that. If you're a small business, you cannot afford two different devices, two different VMs. You're doing a lab, you're limited on hardware resources, you can use that option. Another is multi-domain server, which is beyond the scope of this discussion. So let's go next. And here you can select what do you want to do. If you keep both selected, then this VM will act as both management server as well as gateway. I do not want that, so I will uncheck security gateway. So this cluster Excel, this component got grayed out because that is about the gateway. And now we have this default option. So security management server, your checkpoint management server can be primary, can be secondary, or can be a dedicated log server. Again, these other topics are beyond the scope of this discussion, but by default it is primary, and that is what we want. So we keep the default selection. I want this VM to be a primary management server. Okay, next. And this is again very important question. Uh, there are two different distinctions. One is Gaia operating system, so all system level configuration, your network interface configuration, IP addresses, subnet mask, your routing, static route, default route, all of that. They are part of the Gaia operating system. And then you load the, so Gaia operating system is the base operating system, and you have a default administrator that uses that. And then when you define that I want this Gaia operating system to act as checkpoint management server or as a gateway, when you load that, that is called checkpoint. And it's you can have a different administrator, and you are going to manage it using Smart Console application. Right now, you're using a web browser and you're accessing the Gaia operating system, the base operating system, using a web browser. You can also use it as a CLI. So that is a default admin. You can keep the same admin credentials for Smart Console login also. So if you keep the same credentials, same admin user and password will work for Gaia Gaia portal and CLI access as well as for Smart Console login. However, you can keep them separate, and it is recommended to keep them separate. So I will use a different admin. I will give it a name, and just for simplicity, this is lab. I'm using the same password. You can do this. When you do this, if you are accessing Gaia using a web UI like this, using a portal or CLI, then you can use your admin credentials. So your default username admin and whatever your password is. But when you try to access management server using Smart Console, then that credential, so admin user will not work. You'll have to use this user. So just remember that in mind. I have myself got into trouble because of this initially, and it was it was a lesson learned the hard way. Okay, next, now this is another important piece. This is called trusted host configuration. For security reasons, it is highly recommended to configure this. For lab, you can keep any IP address, which means this checkpoint management server would be accessible from just about any IP address. So no matter what your IP address is, if you have connectivity to checkpoint management server, you should be able to access. That's the default configuration. Uh, since our intention is to access it from the same network, we can restrict it to say, I want to restrict it to 168.1.0 to this network. Okay, so this is what you can use, which means if you are trying to access checkpoint management server from any IP address from 192.168.1, then it will work. That's what we want. Okay. So the wizard is about to get over. Let's click on finish. Yeah, you're sure? Yeah, I'm sure. And it will spin up the virtual machine. It will configure the virtual machine to act as only the management server. That's what it is doing right now. So it is not considering any checkpoint gateway or checkpoint firewall components, but only installing all management components. So it's doing that process right now. So this was the other piece. Once the wizard is done, then we should be able to access it using Smart Console. So three-tier architecture, again, the last piece, Smart Console, you need to have a Smart Console application. Again, if your management server is R81.20, you must have Smart Console R81.20. You cannot use any other console. So if your Gaia operating system is R81.20 and you're using R80 Smart Console, it will not work. You're using R82 Smart Console, it will not work. It has to be exactly the same. So I have R81.20 Smart Console already installed. I'll just keep loading. And this is a Windows application. You have to have a Windows host to install this application. Uh, Now they have also a web version. So for example, if you do not have uh, a Windows host, you can still access the management server using a web browser. So there are three different flavors available for this managing your management server. One is the Smart Console application that you see here. Another is Smart Console Portable, which means you can download a bunch of files. Smart Console executable application is part of it, and then just you can copy it to any Windows platform. You can run it. You don't have to install the software. You can just run it. It's kind of a portable version of this application. And the third one is using a web browser. So it is now possible. In the past, it was not, but now it is possible to access the checkpoint management server using a web browser. Okay, yeah, it is installed. If you're not sure whether everything is done, you can log in, show you a command. Okay, it is called API status. API status. Oh, so it is still running. Yeah, it is still going on. So it is not done yet. So that is the command would tell you. So here it says, yeah, good that I talked about that command. So API space status. It says checkpoint security management server is during initialization. So it is initializing right now. And here API readiness test failed. So these are two important checkpoints that you need to keep in mind. Uh, Make sure when it is done, here it should be, it should be ready, and here it should be success. That means, your management server is ready and it is ready to be connected using Smart Console. All right, so let's clear that up. And let's go to this. This will take, couple of minutes. And this is the final piece, and then we should be connected to the management server. Okay, so it is done. It says configuration completed successfully. I'm clicking on OK. This is done. All right. So this is called uh, the web UI or portal. Since the operating system is Gaia, it is called Gaia portal. Once again, I go back. I use the up arrow key. Use the same command API status. It is still. So even though it is done, it takes some seconds to load and finish it. So it is still this. Status is still this. We need to wait for a few more seconds. Using the up arrow key again, API status. Unless you see, the success status, no, it would not work. So now this status change. So this is running and ready. This status is a good one, but this API readiness is still failed. So API is still not ready. So this is not done yet. So let's wait for a few more seconds. API status. Yeah, it is. API is still failing. Let's wait for some time. Yeah, okay. So it took a few seconds, and now this was already good. This was already good. Now API readiness is also successful. That's what we would want to see. Okay, so now we are ready to access our checkpoint management server using Smart Console. Again, make sure you use the same version. This also has to be R81.20 to connect to an R81.20 management server. Username, yeah. Remember, we used a different account, so it has to be that account. If you use admin, it will not work because admin is only for Gaia operating system. And the IP address you're connecting to has to be correct. So it is 213. Yeah. And the first time you connect to your management server, it will show the fingerprint, which means, it is a security mechanism. And there might be other checkpoint management servers out there. in your environment you have more than one management server. How do you ensure you are connecting to the correct one? Or there might be an intruder out there is impersonating the same IP address. So you're connecting, instead of connecting to your management server, you're connecting to his management server. If in that case, this fingerprint would be his fingerprint. So how do you ensure this is your fingerprint? So you are already logged into the portal. You need to go to here. So system management and certification authority. This is where you see this fingerprint. So you check some option, for example, dish MOD, and you verify it here on the smart console. You see dish MOD. So it is matching. It is you can verify this. So fingerprint will match exactly. This ensures that you are connecting to your management server and no one else. All right. So now we are connecting to smart console for the first time. If you try to connect it too early, this launching will fail. That's why you need to make sure you get those statuses. So ready and success. Okay, so here it is. This is your ASM and this is your management server. You're connected to it. This is your smart console. And in the past, now whenever there was an update on smart console, it was like you need to download the new smart console application, install it. But now they have automated the process. There is an update button over here. You click on it. Whenever there is an update, it will flash like this. So here you see this update, and then you just need to click on it, and it will just install the update. So install now. Yes, I want to install the update, and it is installing the update. Pop up. Yes, I authorize the update. It will install and it will just restart Smart Console application. So now Smart Console application, yeah, it says successfully updated and I want to relaunch. So it will once again load the application and then I should be able to connect successfully. This only happens when there is an update. And this does not happen very frequently. So now we would be on the latest R82. Now that update option is gone. So now there are no more updates and we are connected to the Smart Console using Smart Console to the Checkpoint Management Server. Okay, I think that's about it for this video. This took a little bit longer, but I just wanted to make sure I touch upon all the points and this is useful for everyone, whether you're a beginner or mid-level, this should be useful to all of you. Thank you very much. I hope you like this. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.